What's up, weirdos? I used Blake Lively's hair products for this video, and I know what you're thinking. It's beautiful. I don't know how I'm gonna fight this back for the rest of the video. But today we're talking about Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and the It Ends With Us drama. Oh my god, this is insane. As they have been doing press for this movie, there's just been a lot of weird videos coming out like from Blake Lively, and people are just like really hating her, like really hating her. So I wanna talk about it because the things that people are saying that are like annoying about her, all completely valid. But there is more to the story, and I feel like there are some things that people are kind of like sweeping under the rug just so that they can hate on her even more. Don't get me wrong, I am not a fan of Blake Lively, and as we go through this entire video, you're gonna see why she's like very validly being hated right now. But in this video, I wanna put a little bit more nuance and a little bit of like other perspectives on this whole situation because there is a lot of stuff going on. Anyways, It Ends With Us is the movie that Justin Baldoni directed and Blake Lively is like a producer and she also starred in. Justin Baldoni is also the lead actor in it. And it is based on a book by Colleen Hoover, which the book has faced a lot of criticism before in the past for its portrayal of the abusive relationship at its core. And this movie has faced similar criticisms for that. The issue people have with it being that it kind of feels a little bit like it's romanticizing this horrible relationship. But it's a highly successful book, and the author's defense of how she wrote it was just like, we're trying to make it like actually realistic where you're seeing both of these characters. Anyways, that's what it's about, and the reason people hate Blake Lively is because while that's the topic of the movie, her on the press tour seems to be a little bit more like, who wants to come watch a movie? Who wants to come watch a rom-com? So let's watch some clips. I honestly, like, the joke about the hair at the beginning was not worth it. This is horrible. I can't even run my fingers through it. It's like so locked in. I don't know what's happening. Let me get a hat. Okay, there we go. Now again, remember what the movie is about, and then look at how she's promoting it in this video.
Hello, Blake Lively here.
Colleen Hoover.
And It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
Grab your friends, get your florals, and come watch this movie about an abusive relationship. The tone is definitely off. Then separately, there's another like a red carpet interview where she's asked this question and she has a response.
People who see this movie, who relate to the topics of this movie on a deeply personal level, they're really going to want to talk to you. This movie is going to affect people and they're going to want to tell you about their life. So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
That was a long ass question. Oh my god, like oh my god, like summarize. But he's asking her if there's somebody who is a fan of this movie who is a victim of what her character is a victim of in the movie, and they see her in public, what is the best way to approach her and talk about it? Now keep in mind, when she has this response, just know everybody on the internet is like hating her for this. Like they hate her response here.
Asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could, I'm just curious.
Just social security number.
I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, are we talking logistics? Are we talking emotionally?
So yeah, that clip gets posted on TikTok and then the comments are stuff like, no, she did not. Her sarcasm for such a delicate subject is appalling. Her acting in the movie was good, but they should have chosen a lead that actually cared about DV awareness. It's all of the comments just saying that she sucks for this. And to a certain extent, I totally get it. I know everybody really hates her, but when I'm watching this, what I'm seeing is somebody who's like, do I want somebody like randomly coming up to me and then having like deeply personal conversations about like really like traumatic, upsetting events while I'm just going about my day? Like I did this movie and now I have to be somebody who anybody can approach on the street and then like have like a traumatic, like it's just, you know what I mean? Chapel Rowan recently has been saying a bunch of stuff online about how like, I really need to have boundaries with my fans. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's totally understandable. But then, you know, Chapel Rowan has like released 30 statements about that and people are a little bit like, okay. But the point remains, in my personal opinion, you don't have to have like these emotionally vulnerable, like receiving trauma from everybody who has seen this movie that sees you in real life. I don't think that that's what the exchange is. I think that you make the art and then you put it out there and then, you know, it helps people. But I think that it's fair. I will say, her being sarcastic and dismissive, but I mean, she's like Ryan Reynolds' wife, and that's something that we're gonna see throughout this video, is that it seems like she's trying to do like press in the same way that it has been successful for Ryan, and I think that it's just a massive swing and a miss, and she shouldn't be doing this. So this is, you know, completely the wrong way to go about answering this question, but at the end of the day, I don't think that Blake Lively has to come out and say, yes, I am perfectly comfortable with people coming up and approaching me and talking about like emotionally traumatic events for like like the rest of my life when I'm just out and about, not on work. But the thing is, it's not like, oh, that's it, and everybody's mad. If it was just that, nobody would care. Because the thing I'm saying is valid. The thing I'm saying is valid. But we're just gonna keep going through stuff because it's over and over and over. And once it builds up to a certain point, it just feels like she doesn't actually care. First, I wanna thank the sponsor of today's video, The Farmer's Dog. Now, we all know that highly processed foods aren't good for us, but why would we then go give highly processed foods to our dogs? Because kibble is highly processed. It's subjected to multiple rounds of high heat processing, making it like an ultra processed form of food. Which is why I love The Farmer's Dog for Gustav, because it's made with whole food. And you can see it in the food. It's fresh, it's healthy, it's whole meat and veggies. And importantly, it's gently cooked in human grade kitchens. That way it's retaining a lot more nutritional value. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna set him down. And it's personalized. So you just tell them about your dog and then they make a personalized meal plan for your dog. And all their meals arrive in these pre-portioned, ready to serve packs. You can tell Gus really loves them. Every time I get one out, he gets excited. And they ship so conveniently and they're frozen. So like, I want to show you what they look like when they're frozen. Super, super easy to store. And Gus loves it. Clearly, look at him. Oh my goodness. They really do make it so easy. And if you just click the link in my description, you can get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. The link in my description for 50% off and free shipping. And thank you so much to The Farmer's Dog for sponsoring this video. Now back to the other stuff. Like, look at this one. Talking about her hair care line. That's why I did that bit at the beginning, which, I mean, I hope you laughed. It's gonna be like days of getting this hair fixed now. But look at this.
And I've been fortunate to work with all of the best hairdressers in the world, from hairstylists to colorists to people on film to people in editorial to people for red carpets. And I've always asked questions, and my hair has been through a lot because of all of that. I found my hair just completely changed was when I started using the strengthening system, which fortifies and strengthens your hair.
Okay, we don't need to watch more of that. She's just pitching her hair care line, and she's doing press for this movie that's about domestic violence. And she's taking the time to sit there and promote her hair care line. That's annoying. It's annoying because this is doing like the Ryan Reynolds playbook of, oh yeah, I'll promote my movie. I'll also talk about aviation gin. I'll also talk about Mint Mobile. I'll also talk about Wrexham. Welcome to and he's got like a million other brands. Like Ryan Reynolds is kind of like, oh, I'm so famous, now I'm a brand. And he doesn't really do movies. He just does things to like, you know, fortify his brand. And it looks like she's kind of going down the same route, which comes across really poorly when you're doing press for a movie about domestic violence. It objectively does. In addition to that, I do think that it's like, yeah, if you're doing months of press and like countless interviews over and over and over again, it is easy to find clips of somebody talking about something that's not domestic violence. Like there's this one. This is another one that people talk about a lot as an example of her being a horrible person who's like dismissive of what the topic of the movie is about.
Been the best part in making this particular movie?
I've noticed so many beautiful crystals on teeth. Is that a big fashion thing? We should make braces out of these. That would be so. Everyone would look forward to having braces. That would be smart. Okay, that's not what you want to talk about. Okay.
No, we wanted to hear what has been the best part about making this particular film for you guys.
All of it. I mean, about teeth gems. Yes, that was really the highlight.
Yeah, so, okay, she's trying to be funny and it's just coming across as like, not funny, not answering the question. But it's really important to see like the narrative about Blake Lively is really shaped by, you know, people who are posting stuff like this. This is the people's public opinion. I know as I'm watching this right now and you're probably watching this video, the reaction might be, oh, come on, like, come on, she's awful. And trust me, I do not like her. But it's really important for me to actually be honest with my own opinions and be as fair as I possibly can, because there's no point coming online and just shitting on somebody when the things that they're doing don't deserve that level. Trust me, we're going to get there. Stick with me. I do not like Blake Lively. I don't. But in order for it to actually hit that I don't like Blake Lively, like I have to be fair, because all of these criticisms about her, for me, it's like another example of Blake Lively's incompetence to answer any question about her movie seriously. Yeah, there are clips of her where she's seeing somebody with cool crystals on their teeth and she's being like, oh my God, those are really cool. She's been doing press for weeks, being asked the same questions over and over again. What was so special about making this movie? Oh my God, I've never heard that question before. The thing is though, it is a movie about domestic violence, so you have to come prepared to not have any clips of you out there like this. You can't try to be like funny and irreverent, whatever, but this isn't enough for me to hate somebody. It's just not. When people show me these clips, this is not enough for me to hate them, especially when we get into the other things, because there are actual reasons to be really, really upset with her. But I will say, talking about your hair care line while you're doing all these things, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna talk about something eventually. When I first see it, like honestly, and I see the clip of her talking about her hair, I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. But then you add in the fact that, oh, no, she timed the launch of her hair care line to be coinciding with this movie. I mean, it's also coinciding with Deadpool and Wolverine, but you know, another thing we're gonna get into with this is Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are like trying to position themselves as this power couple where they can just like, you know, conglomerate into this big thing. It's like they're trying to synergize their personal brands. It just comes across as really inauthentic. And especially when, yeah, the movie you're doing isn't Deadpool and Wolverine, Blake Lively. It is a movie about domestic violence. Like, it's not the type of thing that you promote your hair care line during. This is something that to me, I go, well, you fucking are annoying for that. You that's really annoying. Okay. So I'm not just defending Blake Lively on this whole time. But off the whole, her and Ryan like trying to synergize their brands into one thing. If you look at this, like there's so many instances of her, because Deadpool and Wolverine came out at the same time, trying to like bring those two things together to bring up the excitement, to like get the marketing from Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds into It Ends With Us, which from a marketing standpoint makes sense. But from this is a movie about domestic violence, we probably shouldn't be promoting I'm about to make a name for myself. Like, that movie probably doesn't really deserve any like airtime in the press tour when you're talking about this stuff. But look at this.
Why is Deadpool Wolverine sold out? I'm sorry, I got distracted back there. I feel offended, but we're not out yet. That's fine. I'm happy about that. No, I didn't even answer it. Sorry, it's like flashing sold out.
And if people liked her, you know, that's a cute thing talking about her husband. But because there's so many things of her and Ryan like just being annoying on this, they don't. Like, look at this one.
Ryan's here tonight. What is it like for the both of you to be promoting major motion pictures at the same time?
Oh my gosh, it's just so thrilling in our house right now. We help each other. We work together so much. The iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you now. But he wrote it. He works on everything I do.
Just coming out and saying, oh yeah, this really cool scene. Yeah, actually the people who worked on this movie, they didn't do it. I just personally went and gave it to my husband and then he wrote it. It just feels like, oh, we're trying to get Deadpool and Wolverine hype for this movie. I don't know if this is a movie that necessarily has a good crossover in marketing potential with Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't know if you should be leaning into that in a movie like this. It feels tone deaf. And I don't want to, listen, no accusations here, but a lot of people have pointed out the timelines of when this all, there's a lot of speculation that when the writer's strike happened last year, that's when Ryan Reynolds rewrote this scene. And by the way, apparently the screenwriter of the film didn't even know. Because look at this right here. The woman who wrote the It Ends With Us screenplay, Christy Hall, said she turned in her script prior to the writer's strike. Then she rejoined production to give feedback during the editing process. She noticed that there were differences in some of the dialogue that she just assumed were improvisation. It wasn't until the premiere on August 6th, when that clip came out that we just saw Blake Lively, that she found out along with everybody else that it was Ryan who had penned that dialogue, which is interesting because if she turned it in right before the writer's strike and then he changed it, then that's being a scab. There was a lot of conversation about Ryan Reynolds and scabbing because while the writer's strike happened, Deadpool and Wolverine was in the middle of filming, and as everybody knows, Ryan Reynolds is like super heavy into improvisation and like doing alt takes and a bunch of different things, and you can't do improv or alt takes or anything if the writer's strike is currently going. So people had already kind of had like a little bit of a little bit sus about him, and then yeah, heavily speculated that he was a scab and was rewriting it when he should not have been able to. And then another thing with like the Ryan and Blake thing, like this is to me the most annoying part of Blake Lively in this whole situation is just her like trying to be marketing it, trying to, I don't know, make it into some like, oh, it's just a cool pop culture thing, when really it's a movie about the subject that it's about and not necessarily something that's like, we gotta get the biggest box office for this possible, and Deadpool and Wolverine is the biggest R-rated movie ever, so like we should literally try to get the Deadpool and Wolverine audience to come see it. Or you could sit down and actually talk about the topics of the film, which, you know, she has. But clips like this haven't really been getting any traction. So I just want to show you this just to give you a little bit of like a, no, she's not completely ignoring it.
Given her history, you know, she comes from a family that, you know, a childhood that has some trauma in it. And you see her say, well, that's never going to be me. And then you meet her as an adult and go, yeah, she means it. She knows what to look out for. She's not going to repeat those patterns. And then when she does, it's that much more devastating. And it shows that this could happen to anyone, and it does.
So, you know, there's a narrative going on about Blake Lively that's like, oh, she doesn't talk about it at all. All she wants to do is talk about her hair care line and Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool and her wear your florals, blah, blah, blah. We gotta be fair. It would be so much easier for me to come on here and make a video, and plenty of commentary YouTubers have come on and just made videos just saying she sucks and she's just the worst and the worst. But I don't even know if I believe them, because if you're actually doing research on your videos and you're making a commentary video trying to be honest and looking at the story and being like real about it and not just trying to get a bunch of views and likes because you're shitting on somebody who's getting kicked a bunch. It's like there are plenty of reasons to not like Blake Lively and be upset with her. I don't think saying, well, she just makes light of it and doesn't care about it at all. I don't think that that's an honest interpretation if you actually look at the entire history of like the press run and what she's done. People only say that because it's in contrast to the other star of the thing, Justin Baldoni, the director, and also the star who plays, you know, the bad guy, which we're gonna get into a lot about him because that's a really interesting situation. But I just think it's important to be real and not go, oh, I don't like her, so let me take the worst case possible interpretation of everything that she's ever done because I don't like her. My end opinion of Blake Lively is that I do not like her. I just don't think that we would get along. Her vibe, not my vibe. But that doesn't mean that I want to come on here and make a video acting like she is the actual devil. So, you know, also at the beginning of this clip, she says something right here that I wanted to harken back to. Harken back to? What the hell?
But she's not a delicate flower. She's not a wilting lily. She is a strong, empowered woman. So
yeah, so that is also kind of important context for, remember that first clip that we watched where she's like, where are your florals? By the way, don't say that. Don't come out here and be like, where are your florals? That is annoying. Like, don't actually do that. But she's talking about flowers again here seriously. And the reason is, if we turn to Spark Notes, the motif of flowers in gardening emphasizes how important it is for Lily to grow something new in the soil of her difficult upbringing. As a teenager, Lily spends much of her time in her garden. It serves as an oasis for her and a place where she can escape the constant fighting of her parents. So it's not like she was just like, hey, put on your florals. Hey, we're a cute little thing. This is a rom-com. It does have an actual relationship to the subject matter itself, but you know, she said it like an idiot. Like, don't say it like that. And also, don't say, where are your florals? It's just, she just doesn't like, she just doesn't think a lot of the time is what it feels like. Now, there's a couple more things that are like crucial, and these were kind of the things that made me like, I don't like her. I wanted to get the stuff out that I think there's a little bit more nuance to than people are talking about online right now, but these next two things that we're gonna talk about, it's like, oh my God, Blake, what the fuck? But also, oddly, they're not the things that are getting talked about the most. Actually, whatever. This one, she was trying to promote her alcohol brand, Betty Buzz, as well as the movie It Ends With Us. So she did like a pop-up with a, you know, had a floral designer, had a cute little thing. And again, floral, like I understand why she was like, grab your girls, wear your florals. I understand what she was thinking. Like I like how you could get there, but it just feels like, okay, that could be a first thought, but then you just, no, that's stupid. It just doesn't feel like she has the filter that goes, no, that's stupid. She just does the things even if they are stupid. Because look at this. Okay, let's pause right here. Zoom in, enhance. Okay, It Ends With Us drink menu. Cocktails, blah, blah, Betty. But then this one is very clear. Ryle you wait. Now, if you haven't seen It Ends With Us, or if you haven't read the book, Ryle is the name of the domestic abuser. And they named a drink after him. Again, it's a cocktail. She's not actually selling this. It's at an after party. So let's make that clear. She's not selling alcoholic drinks named after a fictional domestic abuser to the public. But also, okay, yeah, it's at an after party. Yeah, it's the name of one of the main characters. Maybe go with a different character's name. Do I know that she had executive control over what the names of the drinks are? No, I do not know that, but I do feel like she could have seen that and said, hey, no. She definitely could have said no. And even if she didn't have the idea, it's kind of on you to not have the domestic abuser's name in it. Now, whoever was in charge of that, whoever like pitched that and made that idea, I'm just praying to God that they didn't watch the movie or read the book and that they were just like, the characters' names are, okay, Ryle. Ooh, I got a great pun for Ryle. And like, yeah, it's an after party. It's not for the public. It's just for them. But you know, people see this, it's in poor taste. It's stupid. And that's a lot of the actions of her. It's not things that I'm like, oh, she's malicious and I hate her, which I feel like a lot of people are saying online. And I just don't think that that's it. I think that she is very careless with the things that she's doing on this press tour. And that results in being somebody that I don't like. You have to be a lot more careful with the things you do and the things you say when the topics are things like domestic violence. And I think that, you know, naming something after a domestic abuser, even if it's, you know, the fictional one in the movie that the after party's for, I don't care how good the pun is. And in addition to this, I think it's important to note that being tone deaf about the topics of the work It Ends With Us, it's not just Blake Lively who's very tone deaf with it. It's also the author of the book. Look at this headline right here. Colleen Hoover cancels tone deaf coloring book for novel on domestic violence. She was gonna make a coloring book for It Ends With Us, like her book. And I get it. Like, I get it. Flowers. It's a thing where the whole thing, like the whole motif, the biggest thing on It Ends With Us, Lily, her name's Lily, she's a gardener. All throughout the entire book, all throughout the entire movie, it's just like flowers and floral. It's like such a key visual thing that it like defines this story. Flowers also make great coloring books. I don't think that the smart move is to go, well, okay, let's just make a coloring book. Because that initial thought needs to have the filtering thought of, do I want to make a coloring book that's based on this thing where it's about domestic violence? Do I want to make it like cutesy when it's already facing criticism for being too, I mean, it feels like the criticism that I see of It Ends With Us is that it makes you empathize with the man. Ryle a little bit. But what Colleen Hoover has said about that criticism is that she didn't want to write the domestic abuser as somebody who's just like cartoonishly evil, who's not a real person, because people are three-dimensional, and you know, if it's just a horrible, evil, horrible person, then you're kind of looking at the person in this fictional work as like, you're an idiot. Why would you ever be in this situation? Like, and you kind of start to resent them. That's what I've seen of like the defense of it is like, well, no, you have to understand why somebody would be in this situation in the first place, but then that ends with showing why somebody would get in that situation, which makes you kind of like the person. It's a very complicated thing. It's, you know, there's a lot of like talk about it, a lot of discourse about it. And I think that if you're doing something that has that kind of discourse, yeah, maybe making a coloring book about it, or cross promoting it with Deadpool and Wolverine, or promoting your hair care line or your alcohol brand. It does feel tone deaf. It does. And now let me show you what Colleen Hoover said like directly about the criticism of the coloring book, because she posted this on her Instagram story when stuff was blowing up. She said, the coloring book was developed with Lily's strength in mind, but I can absolutely see how this was tone deaf. I hear you guys and I agree with you. No excuses, no finger pointing. I have contacted the publisher to let them know I would prefer we don't move forward with it. Thank you for the respectful discourse and accountability. Nothing but love. Also, people who were saying that Blake Lively was not being as vocal about the topic of domestic violence while doing the press, she was facing a lot of criticism, and you know, she responded, but they felt like it was too late. She put this on our story. 1 in 4 women aged 18 and older in the US alone have been the victim of severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. It continues on. People felt like it was a little bit too little too late. Okay, so that's that. The other thing that I want to talk about with Blake Lively is this clip, which is blowing up a lot. And I wanted to save this one for later in talking about Blake Lively because it really transitions into the next point that I have about this whole situation. Let's just look at this.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
That was a good save. What about my bump? Everybody hates Blake Lively for doing that. And to be honest, yeah, like what the hell are you doing? Blake Lively was publicly very pregnant. Like she was publicly, everybody knows that she's pregnant, and she's just congratulating her on her pregnancy. Congrats on your little bump. And then Blake Lively's like, oh yeah, congrats on your little bump. Oh, fat ass. Oh, I'm pregnant? Well, you're fat as fuck, you ugly And why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? By the way, look at her. Like, what bump are you talking about?
Congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
When I'm seeing this, I'm feeling like, yeah, she's trying to do the sarcastic, oh, I'm just gonna give it right back to you. I'm gonna give you a little bit of crap and it's gonna be funny. But because she's Blake Lively, it doesn't come across as funny at all. It just comes across as really bratty. That's really bratty. I do think she's joking. I don't think she's actually like calling her a fat ass. And you know, you shouldn't comment on another woman's body, especially when she's pregnant, like talking about how, oh, you're getting bigger. Congrats on your bump. You shouldn't do that. But yeah, is the response, oh yeah, congrats on your bump, fat ass. Oh, I'm pregnant? Well, you're fucking ugly. Do you see why I don't like her? I am giving a lot of defenses for all these things and like trying to give a little bit of nuance, but it's always like she is in the wrong and is doing something stupid. I just don't think that it's the most evil possible version of it, but it is annoying, it is stupid, it is rude, it is mean, and it is bratty and tone deaf and dumb. Like it's just straight up dumb. So do not take what I've said in this video so far as like, I'm a Blake Lively supporter and I really am a big fan of hers. I'm not. But now comes the shift in this, because this is what people aren't really talking about. This next thing, people will like casually mention it, they'd be like, it's just rumors. There was a massive rift between her and the director, Justin Baldoni. A massive rift that led to them doing no press together and the entire cast completely separating from him, where he has to do all of the interviews and everything on his own, which led to interesting comparisons. Like this TikTok right here. Okay, so she's talking about it.
About the female emotion, and it's just like hysterical women. And I was like, no, like women also want to listen to Tom York.
Showing a clip of her saying that, which, yeah, it's like, yeah. When you show that in comparison to this clip right here, it's gonna draw a very stark comparison.
And I remember finishing the book, and I wrote Colleen this like impassioned letter, just pouring my heart out and saying like, this is why I'm a filmmaker. This is why we started Wayfair Studios, to tell stories like this. And if this book before it had become a global sensation, had already helped thousands of women leave situations like Lily was in. I knew that if we could find a way to adapt it, which we knew wasn't going to be easy, then we had the potential to impact millions of lives.
Yes, when you draw a comparison from that clip of him talking about it in that way with her saying that clip, it makes him look really, really good and her look like she doesn't care at all, especially with everything else we've been talking about this entire time. It makes you say, oh, there's a rift between him and her and the rest of the cast? Okay, so obviously he's in the right, which is what has led to what Blake Lively is experiencing right now, which is just everybody hating her. And this is where it gets interesting to me, because this man, at the very beginning, before any of the stuff about Blake Lively was really coming out, all that was being talked about was there is a very massive rift between him and her and the rest of the cast. That was the tea, that's what people were talking about. But then he made an interesting move. He hired a crisis PR team. All that anybody had known at the time was that there was a big rift, and then he hires a PR team. And who is this crisis PR team? Well, it's none other than the crisis PR team that managed Johnny Depp. And not just Johnny Depp in general, Johnny Depp during the Amber Heard trial. If you say Amber Heard to anybody right now, to this day, there is a very good chance that they'll be like, oh, Amber Turd, isn't that girl who pooped in Johnny Depp's bed? Which, by the way, no. I just find it interesting that he hired the same team when all that we had known at the time was that there is a very big rift. He hires them, and then all of a sudden it's like everybody hates Blake Lively. When we know what the PR team did for Johnny Depp on social media, we know the impact that that PR team, this PR team, had on the public opinion of Amber Heard, specifically because of social media. Are you with me right now? Blake Lively is getting so much hate right now, specifically on social media. The thing is, hiring a PR crisis team, that's not like an admission of guilt. It's not. He could be completely in the right and just trying to get a jump on it because he's afraid, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, they have so much institutional power that it's scary. He wants to get somebody who's obviously very good at it. It's not an admission of guilt, but I find it interesting that he hires them and then everything really blows up against Blake Lively. And I think that that's a fair thing to point out, that I just when I watch other commentary, people talking about this, it feels like this is just mentioned in passing just to get back to shitting on Blake Lively. And listen, I do not like Blake Lively at all, but I have my own integrity and my own opinions to I have to stand behind this. And I have to be honest with you, I find it sus. I do. But the things that are rumored that he did wrong, that could potentially have led to him wanting to get a crisis PR team, stuff like this. Here's an article from Page 6. Blake Lively felt fat shamed by Justin Baldoni when he mentioned her weight while filming It Ends With Us, according to a new report. Baldoni, 40, allegedly asked an on-set trainer how much Lively, 36, weighed before shooting a scene in which he had to lift her. The Jane the Virgin star has a history of back issues per the outlet and wanted to know how to properly train to avoid hurting himself. So she had found out about that he was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to lift her because she's so big. That's not enough to go hire a crisis PR team. That story coming out, that's definitely not enough. But it is kind of I don't know, man. You gotta just suck it up. Suck it up. I need to be able to properly train to avoid back issues. He has a history of back issues, sure. Hey, go get to your own personal trainer. Don't go to the on-set trainer and then have word get to her that they're oh, Justin thinks you're probably too big for him to safely lift. That would make you feel like shit. And she had given birth to her 4th child just a few months before filming this. So obviously, I don't know how nobody has heard about this, but women while pregnant and then after pregnant and just in general, it's talking about their weight. It just feels like you don't want to go there. But then, and this is very interesting to me, this is really not talked about at all. The same report that claims that also talks about how those two co-stars had tension over a kissing scene that the Gossip Girl alum, Blake Lively, she thought it lasted too long. There was tension because she thought that a kissing scene lasted too long. Blake Lively is a professional. If she feels uncomfortable because a kissing scene went on too long and then there's tension over it, how can there be tension over it? How can you not just profusely apologize? Those are the reports that are coming out though. I don't know if that's it. To me, that doesn't feel like enough to hire a crisis PR team. And it also doesn't feel like enough to fully turn your back from your co-star / director. I'm not trying to come on here and be oh, he's a fucking creep. This is a rumor, but it's, it's been reported and it adds up with everything. Because the thing is, it's not just Blake. This is another thing that's been reported. It's not just Blake, added the industry source. None of the cast enjoyed working with Justin. They certainly didn't talk to him at the premiere. That's why I feel like there has to be something else behind this. There just has to be. Look at Jenny Slate right here. By the way, Jenny Slate is so funny, but look at how she responds to this question where she's asked directly about Justin Baldoni, the director who she has fully been distanced from this entire time, and the rest of the cast. Unrelated to Blake Lively, not getting any of the hate at all. But look at how she responds to this question.
Talk to me, what was that like, having him be director but also scene partner?
I mean, what an intense job. Like to have to do so many things. I just found myself being like, wow, I really just want to have one job at once. And in fact, I've often felt that way. Like, I really like writing, and I like.
The rest of this clip is just, yeah, her having fully diverted the subject from Justin Baldoni to talking about anything else. I find it very interesting, and I'm sorry. Listen, I do not like Blake Lively. I'm gonna get into even more reasons why I don't like Blake Lively in a second. Please don't think that this is me coming on here saying, I love Blake Lively, please stop hating her. Everything that people are annoyed with her by and like upset with her with, I think is completely valid. In addition, I find it very interesting that he hires the exact same PR crisis team that Johnny Depp did that had an entire social media blitz to turn all of the public's opinion against Amber Heard, and it was massively successful. He hires the same team, they do a social media blitz. It's like, I feel like I'm being fed the same bullshit they were trying to feed me with Amber Heard. The fact that to this day, there are still people who think that Amber Heard is like a horrible person and Johnny, oh, poor little Johnny, yes, papa. It just shows you the power that that specific PR crisis team has on social media. They are very, very good at what they do. And it makes me call into question everything that I'm seeing about Blake Lively. It doesn't mean that the things that she's saying and doing and have done are not bad and annoying and stupid and dumb and tone deaf. All of that is true. It just feels like, why are we being told these things now? Because, remember the interviewer where she said, congrats on your bump, and Blake Lively said, nice bump too, fat ass! Remember that clip? Well, that interviewer has a little bit of an interesting story because Justin Baldoni hires this crisis PR team and then she releases that and shares like a whole thing. She like posts a YouTube video. She has 100,000 subscribers. The video has 4 million views. Maybe just a good title and thumbnail, potentially, maybe. But I find it interesting that this interviewer also happens to be a bona fide Johnny Depp fangirl. Yeah, interesting. She had said this for him and this was tweeted out in 2022, on May 9th, 2022, literally in the middle of the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, where she, the interviewer with Blake Lively, said, Johnny Depp is the most polite and sweet actor I have ever interviewed. So incredibly present, so warm, so attentive, so humble. He stood up to greet me when I entered the room and he did the same when I left. Kirsty Fla. And the source for that is this video right here, which Kirsty Fla posted on May 5th, 2022. But this is for Transcendence. Oh, that movie was released in 2014. So why is she posting it then amidst the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp fucking trial? Interesting how this PR crisis team gets hired and then this interviewer posts something in support of the person that they were hired for. Then somebody else hires that same PR crisis team and then that same interviewer posts another thing about the person that they were hired against. Interesting. Now, is Kirsty Flaw, is she posting anything else about anybody else? Not really. Like all of her other videos are just random, run-of-the-mill, nothing. But then somebody hires this PR team and she posts something in support of them. 173,000 views compared to 4,000 compared to 6,000. And again, it is partially because of the topic at that time. And he was, very, very, clickable. But then, 2 weeks ago, after having not posted in a year and your last video getting 10,000 views, you post this Blake Lively thing and it gets 4 million views. That coincidence is not lost on me, and it really makes me question everything. Listen, I find it very plausible that there was this war between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively in a disagreement of how the film should be made because they both had separate cuts. They had both been working on separate edits. Blake Lively had gotten one of the Deadpool and Wolverine editors. So you see, it's so weird, like everything is connected between, but she had got one of those editors to like re-edit the movie and was like trying to push for like those changes to be in the final thing versus Justin Baldoni and their actual editing team. Now, the people who are like credited as the editors are Justin Baldoni's people, but there's this obvious conflict, obvious war of opinions between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. There is a very, it's possible that that's it, that they just had, this big conflict and he was worried that it's going to come out. Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, they have so much power. He's this new guy. It's his first time directing a movie. It's like he just doesn't have a situation where he has the upper hand. So he hires this PR crisis team to help him not have his career destroyed by these two people who are, with an institutional power. I completely understand that. There is a possibility that that is true. But it makes me look at the stuff that's posted about Blake Lively in a very different light when I feel in my bones that it is manufactured by the same team who manufactured the hate against Amber Heard. When you were online seeing the stuff that was being said about Amber Heard, back then, it was very hard not to be like, oh my God, she's horrible. Because the stuff on social media is just the clipped out of context worst parts, not showing any of the other stuff. And like, it's so obvious that PR crisis team is phenomenal at shifting the public opinion, specifically through social media. And we are seeing that happen again. And I think that this Kirsty Flaw, I think it's a big misstep by them because they fully exposed themselves. Although maybe it's not because nobody else is fucking talking about it. Why am I the only commentary YouTuber who's actually doing some fucking research on this? I'm sorry, I haven't seen every video. I just haven't. I'm sure there are other people who are talking about it, but it just feels like everything that I see online is just like, I hate Blake Lively. I hate Blake Lively. She's such an idiot. And I also don't like her. I also really think that she is an annoying, tone deaf, trying to capitalize off of fame, like capitalist, like fucking fully focused on her own self-interest, all this stuff. Like, I do believe that. I do not like her. I don't. But we have to open our eyes and see that this is very suspect. We have to be so much more critical of the information that we're receiving online and trying to figure out why are we seeing this. And I think that the fact that this Johnny Depp fangirl who was posting stuff in support of him during the Amber Heard trial, right after they hired a PR crisis team, then going and posting something about Blake Lively trying to make her look bad with a title and thumbnail that are completely different from anything else that she's ever posted, so it feels like they got the help from the PR crisis team. I'm not accusing, I'm not saying that that's for sure. I don't know. It's just my opinion on what I'm looking at. I'm like so scared because they are so good at dragging anybody's name through the mud that to come out and like say there's cause for question here, it's scary for me to say that. It'd be so much easier to just make a video shitting on Blake Lively. It would be so much easier. Oh my God, it would be so much easier to do that. You don't oh my God. And in order to continue to maintain my integrity, let me finish out with a couple other things that are like reasons that people don't like Blake Lively. But in the interest of being completely honest about everything, like I don't like Blake Lively. Let's talk about the other reasons that people are a little bit more primed to not like her. Aside from the fact that she's a woman and she's trying to be funny in a way that Ryan Reynolds is, and it really doesn't work for women in the same way that it does for men in the court of public opinion. It sounds like I'm being pick me. I'm sorry. I'm just being fucking honest. Sorry. Like what? Let me drink my Diet Mountain Dew. I have a fucking like camo hat on, but it's Chapel Roan. Fuck! Okay, anyways, because she said in an article a long time ago, listen, this was a while ago, but she said, I hope to have a few girls one day. If not girls, they'd better be. She said the slur for transgender people, but she's saying, I hope to have a few girls one day. If not girls, they'd better be. Because I have some amazing shoes and bags and stories that need to be appreciated. Now that's coming out and people are obviously being like, oh my God, why would she say that? Oh my God. But I'm also seeing a lot of people who are in the gay community talking about it being like, her intent doesn't seem transphobic in that, which, you know, when I'm looking at it, it's like, it doesn't seem like she's minimizing trans people at all. It feels, if anything, like she's just accepting if you transition to being a woman, then you are a woman because she wants a girl. So if I have a son, I hope he transitions so I can have a girl and then she can appreciate my shoes and bags. But she did say a transphobic slur. So, doesn't look good. Not good. Not great. It's not great, John. But wait, there's more. Now, this is the worst. Like this is horrible. This sucks. This is awful. You see this picture right here? Here's a picture. Does it look like a cute building to you? Maybe. That's what Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively thought. They were like, oh my God, it's so scenic. It's so cute. But if they had done a little bit of research, they would have found out that that was a plantation. Then that's where they got married. They got married on a plantation. Ryan Reynolds' reasoning for why they did that in the first place was that he saw it on Pinterest and he thought it looked pretty. And listen, Ryan, you are handsome, but if you see a building that looks really pretty and it's in the deep south, if you see a pretty house in Georgia, oh, this house has a lot of history. It's from Georgia from the 1800s. Don't ever get married there. Because I don't know if you're aware of it. Well, you are aware of this now, Ryan, but anybody who's not aware of this, if there's a house that's really fancy that's from the 1800s in Georgia or Alabama or Mississippi, chances are that was a plantation because that's what rich people did in the South. I don't know if you know about like Civil War history, like the economy in the South was like very, 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 very much due to the slavery there. And the very wealthy people generally were wealthy because of all of the human beings that they were enslaving and torturing. And they apologized. When they found out, oh my God, they apologized. They felt horrible. She dropped a Chapel Roan level like Instagram slides of paragraph on paragraph on paragraph. Except instead of Chapel Roan being like, please don't talk to me in public, it was, holy fuck I didn't know that was a plantation. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We are donating $200,000 to make things right. Holy fuck, please join us in donating. Oh my God, we are so sorry. Like, they felt bad. Look at this one. She said, in the third slide, we're committed to raising our kids so they never grow up feeding this insane pattern, and so they'll do their best to never inflict pain on another being consciously or unconsciously. It's the least we can do to honor not just George Floyd, Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and Eric Garner, but all the black men and women who have been killed when a camera wasn't rolling. Last week, we contributed $200,000 to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Yeah, and you know, she continued. Yeah, I mean, fuck. Can't take it back. Like, you already got married there. You're never gonna have not gotten married on a plantation. By the way, yeah, because NBC has an article about it, and this paragraph is really interesting. Actually, I'll read a couple. Reynolds and Lively got married at Boone Hall Plantation in Mount Pleasant. Fuck, man. Which features 9 slave cabins referred to as Slave Street. The move was criticized at the time, but came under renewed scrutiny in 2018 after Reynolds tweeted in support of Black Panther. The first superhero, he was accused of hypocrisy. The wedding industry has also been responding to plantation weddings' role in glamorizing sites of violence against black people. Last year, Pinterest and The Knot banned pictures of all plantation weddings on its platform, including Reynolds and Lively's. The location is called Boone Hall Plantation. It's Boone Hall Plantation. Plantation. This is what I'm saying. This is so fucking stupid. I'm sure they feel stupid about it, but like, it doesn't matter if so much time has passed and it's like, oh, well, now it's under new ownership. There's not slavery there. Just don't get married on something that was a plantation. It's not hard to find someplace beautiful that's not a place that used to have slavery, that has 9 slave cabins referred to as Slave Street. It's not hard to find a place that's not that. And you know, I'm sure they feel a horrible amount of regret for it, especially when he tries to tweet something out to support Black Panther and people are like, you get married on a plantation? And it's like, fuck, man, you got married on a plantation. It's so stupid. This is why I don't like them, because it's like, hindsight shouldn't be the thing that catches that. You should just like be able to see that with regular sight. Oh, it's in South Carolina. Oh, it's not Georgia, it's South Carolina. Boone Hall proposal, wedding photography. Hey, just stop. I don't think that repurposing a plantation for like happiness and love, I just don't think that's very good. That's being like, we had a beautiful wedding in Germany. The place was called Auschwitz, and trust me, in the last 100 years, they have done some phenomenal renovations. It is absolutely gorgeous. They have got so much room for all of the guests, so many quarters. They have got an absolute abundance of these just small rooms that are great for storage. Yeah, if you wouldn't get married at fucking Auschwitz, then you shouldn't get married on a plantation. You know that now. Should have known that then. They did what they can. Obviously, with like their apology, obviously they feel horrible about it, but like, just what the fuck? Don't do it. I mean, it's just dog shit. And I'm including this because I don't want you to think that I'm just like making a video trying to defend Blake Lively. I'm really not. If you look at the title of this video, I'm not a big fan of Blake Lively. I just think that I had to have an important section right there where we talk about how we need to be more critical of the stuff that we're receiving online. This, I think, is absolutely deserving of complete criticism. Not only is it a bad mistake, it shouldn't have been a mistake. It's South Carolina, historical fancy place. If you're in South Carolina and you see a fancy building, don't get married there, because chances are, if it's from the 1800s, it is a horrible, horrible place. Yeah, and it's gonna follow them around forever, and justifiably so. They should always feel guilty about that, and they should always feel like horrible, and they should donate $200,000 to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund every single year. They're doing what they can, but yeah, y'all should be donating every single year, because what the fuck? That's so stupid. I say all that to say, Blake Lively, not somebody I like, very deserving of criticism, constantly having misstep after misstep after misstep, doing things that are objectively wrong, very wrong in this case. But in relation specifically to It Ends With Us, I think that a lot of the criticism is missing the big factor of this PR crisis team that clearly wants us to feel this way. And when I feel like there is a narrative being fed to me, I become a lot more critical of it. And you know, through my very critical lens of this, I have a lot of questions for Justin Baldoni for that kiss that felt like it lasted too long, and why the entire rest of the cast is distanced from him. That is doing the exact same thing to Blake Lively that they did to Amber Heard, specifically going to an interviewer who, you know, I'm not saying that she did anything under the direct command of this PR crisis team. But when I look at the evidence, I have questions. So I think that it's very important to keep that in mind when you're seeing all this stuff about Blake Lively. In addition to this post made by her co-star, Brandon, Jenny Slate is backing up and supporting Blake Lively. This dude, Brandon, backing up and supporting Blake Lively. And nobody is on Justin Baldoni's side. That has to come into your consideration when you're looking at this story. It has to. I'm gonna end with this. He said, "Hey everyone, I want to take a minute and address all this stuff swirling online. Colleen and the women of this cast stand for hope, perseverance, and for women choosing a better life for themselves. Vilifying the women who put so much of their heart and soul into making this film because they believe so strongly in its message seems counterproductive and detracts from what this film is about. It is, in fact, the opposite of the point. What may or may not have happened behind the scenes does not and hopefully should not detract from what our intentions were in making this film. It's been disheartening to see the amount of negativity being projected online." Okay, he writes more paragraphs, but we get the point. He is coming out in defense of Blake Lively and subtweeting Justin Baldoni in that. And I do think that that is an interesting thing to end this thinking about. Does Blake Lively actually not care about victims of domestic violence? Because if not, I don't think that she would have taken on this role in this movie. I do think that she has been completely tone deaf throughout the press tour in multiple moments, not all of the time, although we are seeing a lot of clips of her most tone deaf moments, interestingly, on social media because of that PR crisis team, potentially. But she has talked very seriously about it. And some of the things, like she's getting criticism for being sarcastic when the guy was like, well, what if somebody wants to come up and talk to you about it? Yeah, I honestly don't think that she owes every single person a conversation where they're like trauma dumping on her because she made a movie about something, and then she has to like take all of that emotional stuff and then like be able to like provide the love and support that that person needs in that moment. And if she says, I want people to come up and say things to me, then she's opening herself up to that. So of course she has to kind of be like, that's a little bit of an overstep of boundaries, Chapo Rowan style. It's just, there's just more to it. And this Justin Baldoni guy, I have questions. I do not like Blake Lively. I've said it so many times throughout this video, all of the reasons why I don't. I do not like her. The point that I'm making in this video is I think that we can all be a little bit more critical of why we are getting the information that we are getting and trying to understand an agenda behind why we are seeing. Because when I have done research on this, it feels like an agenda is being pushed. And even though the things that we are seeing are objectively negative, and I do not like Blake Lively because of them, the fact that there is a clear agenda being pushed by the same team that had an agenda against Amber Heard, I think that at the very least, it is worth noting. Also, definitely not worth doing that bit with my hair at the beginning, because I had this hat on the whole time, and it does not go with this shirt at all. My bad, y'all. Let me know what you think in the comments though, because I do agree with what people are saying about Blake Lively. I completely agree, but I just, I think that there's another layer that commentary YouTubers that I personally have seen are not taking into account. And I'm really disappointed in that. And I think the community of commentary YouTubers that I'm in, I think that, we could hold ourselves to a little bit of a higher standard on things like that. On things like that. Please subscribe.
Also, go to my second channel. I'm having a horrible day. Yesterday, I filmed a Happy Wheels Let's Play video, and it was the second Happy Wheels video I played. I haven't posted the first one yet, but go subscribe to it because I really love the second channel and what I'm gonna be doing there. But I filmed it. It was one of my favorite videos. And then I just looked at it today before I started filming this, and the screen recording footage is just corrupted and gone. It's just a nightmare. I'm sure it's for the best. It's gonna be for the best. I'm gonna refilm it, and it's gonna be even better. I'm sure. But subscribe to that channel too. Yeah.